The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast, recording this on Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. How you guys doing on this very chilly South Florida Tuesday afternoon? Yes, it is actually cold today. Cold. Well, now, I guess when you say cold, by those standards, if you are a South Floridian, whatever, it's a big deal. But you know, mid 60s ain't that cold. Come on now, bro. I actually walked 4 miles a while ago, so I this is the thing I love about this kind of weather for me. Is like this is the time of year where we get more cold fronts down here between November through February, March. So if there's any time of year where I should be walking the most, which I walk 4 miles a day when I have a chance to do that, this is the time of year I need to crank it up. So I did 4 miles today, got done in about an hour and 10 minutes. And it's so easy, bro. Like I don't do every day, but I do at least 3 times a week. And the thing is too also, like all I do, I put on my headphones and just walk and move and do something I normally do in the house anyway, but I'm actually being productive with it, you know? So anyway, lots to get to on the show today. Of course, you get my week 10 NFL observations, a lot going on in the NFL, of course, as we continue to get through these final weeks before we get to the playoffs. Nico Harrison fired by the Mavericks. My reaction to that as well. And I'm gonna talk about something that's actually kind of like been on my mind last couple of days. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has actually proposed a 50-year mortgage loan to buyers, to potential home buyers. I have a lot of opinions about that. As you guys know, I'm really, really much into finances and budgeting and all that stuff. I have opinions on that as well. But first, I want to talk about something a little personal here. As I told you guys, I think on the episode last week, I think it was, maybe a week before that, my family and I, we are downsizing. We actually are planning on moving from where we're at now. We've been at this place now, living here. We rent, of course. We've been here for 8 years. And we like it here, obviously. There's been some issues of lately when it comes to this place in a townhouse. But we are making some adjustments because we have a lot of things going on next year, starting 2026. We're a lot of goals in mind, family. As I said, my wife is planning to go back to school next year and doing some things of that nature and planning her future and whatnot. I also have decisions to make about my future as well too, because a lot of things are going on that I feel like I'm at a crossroads. Like I remember when I turned 40, and I said something about being at a crossroads. And nothing has changed since then. But now I'm 45. And now I'm thinking, okay, now what do I do now? Like, obviously I have 2 kids, 12 and 8. One's about to go to high school in 2 years, less than 2 years rather. And then, you have a lot of decisions to make. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not getting any younger. And there's a lot of things I want to, well, at least I'm interested in doing, outside of what I do now. The decision to move first and foremost for us is simply this. It's the decision to move here was simply to save money. First off, we're living in the same development. So nothing's really going to change that much. We're literally moving 2 buildings over from where we're at now. So it's not a big move. So nothing changes in terms of changing schools for our kids or work or none of that stuff. Nothing changes there. We're just changing buildings. That's all we're doing. But we're saving a lot of money by doing that. Like we're saving an upwards of $400 a month on rent by moving. Added to the fact that my wife and I have been discussing going through a budget and cutting things out for next year. We're looking at saving probably in the neighborhood of $800 to $1,000 a month if we go through with the things we are deciding to cut. A lot of things we're looking at cutting on bills wise. This because, like I said, she's going back to school, number one. That's a huge thing for her. She has become much more career driven now. I guess what the number is, what the word is, I guess. Which she never has been. To be honest, with you. She'll tell you herself that she's never been someone that had goals and stuff. She just lived. You know, we just like her and I, like we're so made for each other that way because when we like I had some goals, but I never had any big goals. Like I never had this goal of I want to be a CEO of a company or I had like probably more fantasy driven goals. Like for example, like when I played in the band, I wanted my band to get big and I wanted to be able to tour the world and be able to make money doing that and whatnot. And then obviously this podcast, I want this podcast to be huge and this and that. I mean, obviously we're not there, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. But we do, her and I have good jobs and we've had our jobs for a very long time. I've been at my job for 22 years, over 22 years actually. I still enjoy it. I've always told you guys the one part about my job that's still a challenge for me is the physical part. But there's also things outside of my control that could be happening. Like my job right now, there's a lot of things in flux in terms of the future, in terms of the company management, and if so, also property and all this stuff. They're supposed to get a new building very soon, but that hasn't happened yet, and there's a lot of things in the way of that happening, and that could affect our future, and not just my future, but also my wife's, because she, even though as I told you, she does not work in my job, she works in that same building, so she also benefits from there as well too. So there's a lot of effect there. But we also want more financial freedom too, also as well, and that's not one of our one of the things that we're really focusing on is our financial freedom and being able to. We have so many goals of not obviously her going to school, number one, that's a huge goal, but also we want to be able to do things and travel, and there's a lot of things we want to accomplish personally, and we need to free up money. We need to free up income and be able to make more money, but also that's the thing too. Also, a lot of people like to make a lot of money and they want to spend more money. My goal is I want to make more money and spend less money. Actually, I want to keep my money, and be able to use the money and use them to experiences and take my kids to vacations, and those things matter to me. Experiences matter to me. What I mean? So having financial freedom does that. And I'm kind of back into my minimalistic, framework again. Like we're not moving for another month, but we already started packing. We already started going through each room, get rid of things, get rid of certain things. We're downsizing. Like we're really downsizing in a real way. And I told my wife, look, there's a lot of things here that I'm really part with now. I just want to look, as long as I have the ability to record my podcast, it's great. See, the only negative of this move I don't like for me, and it's for me. And again, it may not be a big deal depending on the space. So we're recording this podcast right now in this room. I'm in my master bedroom closet, but we got a really big closet. You don't know that, but it's a really big closet. So I have enough room to fit all our clothes, plus I have a studio in here. And for 8 years, this has been my space, my man cave, my therapy room, and call that. So I'm going to lose this room after 8 years. I love this room. I love being here. I recorded so many podcasts here through the years. I've been doing this show almost 15 years, and 8 of those years I've been in this room. So it's a hard part for me to do that. But at the same time, you have to make sacrifices too. Now we don't know the situation with how much space, because obviously we saw the floor plan for the other place, and the closet space is a little smaller. We can still make it work, but we have to figure the space out and how that works. I think we'll make it work, obviously, but I think it'll be a little bit tighter space. But look, as long as we're able to save money and still be able to do the things we want to do, like this show, for example, because I still want to have a space to record. That's all that matters. And my wife said she'll do it best she can to help me out with that. We also discussed the idea, because here's one of the positives of moving also too. We have a 1-car garage right now. We're going to be going to a 2-car garage. So there is space for the possibility of me finally making my dream come true and actually building a studio in my garage if it works out. Now, it's not ideal in Florida, because the thing is, in Florida, it gets really hot. And I don't know what I can do if I can get an AC in there to kind of balance that out. But there's a lot of options here on the table. So I'm looking at all the options here. But we will see how that thing plays out. But like I said, I'm pretty excited about this move. Like I said, we're getting things done. We're packing things up already early. We're getting rid of stuff and throwing things we don't need anymore. So we're looking at this move as a starting fresh moment for us. So looking forward to that. As you guys know, yesterday Brian Daboll was fired as New York Giants head coach. He went 20-40 in his and won rather in his 4 years, near 4 years there with the team. I already told you guys on record was not a fan of the firing necessarily. But I understood why they did it. Like, again, you cannot look. Here's a bottom line: you cannot blow 4 games this year where you've led 10 plus points only to lose them. And in 2 of those games, you were up big late. Okay, 2 of those games you were up 10 plus points late in the game. Okay, like late in the fourth quarter. Like the Bears game on Sunday, and of course the Broncos game, the terrible Broncos game, which Shane Bowen should got fired for, the defensive coordinator got fired for. There's a lot of reasons why I think the Giants did this, because I was saying all year long that what was going to save Daboll's job was the development of Jackson Dart, and it might have, but Jackson Dart has already been in concussion protocol 4 times this year. Okay, he's getting hit like crazy because all these damn RPOs are running. He's got to slide. He's got to slide. You also have a situation where, I feel like this one actually may have hurt him more than anything else. That Broncos game that they blew back in 3 weeks ago, whatever, how long it was. He didn't fire Shane Bowen, the defense coordinator. I feel like that did him in. That right there, that did him in. Because he stayed the course. And you just can't do that. You can't blow 4 leads like that. So I'm not a fan of the firing. I understand the firing, but I did put together a top 5 list of candidates that I would like to see possibly fill that vacancy. I have 5 guys I'm looking at that I wouldn't mind seeing the Giants look into to fill the vacancy. And the thing is, too, also, the reason why I'm not a fan of firing is I'm so sick and tired of changing coaches over and over again. Since Tom Coughlin, we had, 6 coaches now? Since Tom Coughlin left the team in 2015, we've had Ben McAdoo. We have, not in order, Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge. We have now Brian Daboll. We had a couple interims in between that. I'm so sick of it, bro. I'm so sick of the retreads and please, let's find a guy. Let's stick to the program, and and that's what I was hoping. I wanted to see Daboll through with this at least one more year with Jackson Dart, because the one thing he did get right, the one thing that the Giants have gotten right, is that we have a quarterback for the future. Like, we're bad right now, but I know going to next year, 2026, we got a quarterback. We got a quarterback. We got Malik Davis back. We got a lot of guys back from injury. We got a very good defensive line. Okay, we shouldn't be this bad. We should not be this bad. And yet, the Giants right now should have in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 wins, and they lost them because of the fact they just blew leads. Brian Daboll, you can't do that, and that's why you lost your job. Okay. By the way, so here are my 5 candidates I want the Giants to look into for this job. Okay. Number 5, Bill Belichick. Now, I say that only because the history. There's no shot. I don't think there's any shot Bill Belichick is in the NFL again. I would have signed up for Bill Belichick maybe 5 years ago. But Belichick, he's now 73 years old. I don't want a distraction. With the girlfriend, the fiance, what to call it, Jordan Hudson, whatever her name is. I don't want the distraction of the team necessarily, but at the same time, he is respected by a lot by the Maras and the Tisch family. So I don't necessarily hate the idea of Belichick coming here, but he's also a little older. That's why I put him on the bottom of my 5. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 4, Spags. Yes, Steve Spagnuolo, the current defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, who actually was interim for the Giants. I think for a couple of weeks. I believe it was after McAdoo. Was it McAdoo's firing that they did that move? It may have been him or Shurmur, one of the 2 guys. Look, Spags has history in New York, of course. He was the coordinator for the Giants back in 2007 for the Super Bowl title run. Super Bowl run, of course, with Michael Strahan and those boys. So he has good history here in New York. But Spags being another guy I look into. I know he's looking to get back to coaching again as a main guy. Why not take a chance on that guy, huh? Number 3, Nick Saban. Now, I know Nick Saban has said on record he's done coaching. I think he's done coaching college. I think Nick Saban may consider a return to the NFL. May consider it now. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe just this health thing's there. I know Miss Terry has said he said to Miss Terry, his wife said that we're done, we're out. But who knows? Throw enough money at him, you never know what happens there. Okay. Now these are the two guys I really want to work out. Number 2, Lane Kiffin, for one reason only. Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart. Of course, Dart playing under him at Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin, of course, was responsible for that. So that mix is going to be great. Okay, so I know right away that synergy between those two guys, that'll be phenomenal going forward. And Lane Kiffin, I'm sure we'll get a lot of job offers now, especially with how good Ole Miss has been this year. Number 1 for me, though, this is easy. Kevin Stefanski, current Cleveland Browns coach. Now, the Browns are stupid, so they're probably going to fire him. They're dumb. Please, the Browns, do the dumb thing again and fire him. Please fire him. Because the minute that guy is on the market, I want the Giants to get that guy as the coach. Kevin Stefanski, I want him as my head coach for my team moving forward. That's my number 1 candidate. I want to see Giants hire. Okay, Kevin Stefanski, number 5, Bill Belichick, number 4, Steve Spagnuolo, 3, Nick Saban, 2, Lane Kiffin, and number 1, Kevin Stefanski. All right, for the rest of my NFL Week 10 observations, I went 3-2 on my picks this week. So it's been a mediocre year. It's been a tough year. Like I said, this season is so crazy, not just on the field, but also in gambling. I had a rough start, but then I had a couple of weeks where I did really well. I think I went like 5-0 one week and 4-1 the next week. So I was able to catch up after starting like 1-8 this year. I was able to make up some ground. Now I have a winning record this year. So I think this year I'm like 26-24, I think it is. Let me make sure I get my record right. Right now this year, I am on my best bets of the season. I am 26-24. Is correct on that. So I hit on the Seattle -6.5. I hit on Detroit -8 and Philadelphia last night +1. Indy, I lost on -6. That was a push. And then of course, Tampa, I lost on that one. I had Tampa in that game, New England in that game, of course. So yeah, 3-2 this week, my picks. So another winning week for me, but it's been a tough year. Is it time to take the Patriots serious? Dude, these guys are good. I mean, they got the central win. So they had the first central win against Buffalo on the road about a month and so on ago. Okay, he said, well, it's a different game. Let's see what happens. You can see more, but they've been winning since then. Then you beat Tampa off a bye. Okay, in Tampa as well too. Also in what I call the Brady Bowl. So the Pats, clearly they're the favorites to win the division now. They're 2 games up on Buffalo now with the tiebreaker. I'm still apprehensive about whether or not this is a Super Bowl team, but I love Mike Vrabel. So we talk about coach of the year this year. We talk about Kyle Shanahan. We talk about Shane Steichen, and rightfully so. But maybe right now, entering week 11, that the coach of the year right now favorite is Mike Vrabel. We shall see. The Colts find a way to win a game in a must-win game against the Colts. I said this. I said the must-win game against the Falcons in Berlin on Sunday. That was a must-win. Must-win game for the Colts. And look, they almost did lose a game, but they won, and that's good enough for me. Okay, winners win, and they found a way to win the game. So you got to give them credit for that one. Now again, like the Patriots, are they contenders? By default, yes. The AFC is wide open now, and if the Chiefs make the playoffs this year too, also this bitch is wide open. Okay, straight up. I don't trust Buffalo. I just don't trust Buffalo. But again, they are still contenders because they have arguably the best quarterback in football in Josh Allen. But they are way too dependent on Josh Allen, and that was a disgusting display we saw on Sunday in Miami. What the hell was that shit? Seriously. Carolina Panthers had a chance to convince many, like myself, that they were actually playoff contenders, and they failed miserably. How do you lose at home by 10 to the New Orleans Saints? Like, you want us to take you guys seriously, and then you can't even beat the worst team in football? In the Saints? Really? We really doing that? That was bad. That was really bad. So, yeah, the Panthers out. Okay? Caleb Williams is starting to figure it out, and I started to think about this too also in regards to Caleb Williams. If we go back to the 2024 draft, and let's look at the quarterbacks. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, a couple of guys. Would you redraft that order? How would you redraft? If you had to redraft, would you draft it in the same order or not? So Caleb Williams number 1, of course. Jane Daniels 2, Drake May 3. Now, Jane Daniels has hit the bigger peak so far through a year and a half. He actually put the Commanders a game away from the Super Bowl last year. Okay, but we also have seen now with Jane Daniels that injuries are an issue. He can't stay healthy. We're starting to see the people talking about, this could be another RG3 situation. Hopefully not, but we're starting to see signs of that. Caleb Williams came up the gate sluggish, didn't meet the hype, but this year he's starting to show signs of, Okay, now we see it now. He's still not where we thought he'd be a year or two, but he's starting to figure it out now. And I think Ben Johnson's done a great job with him, in coaching him up, whatnot. So we'll see. Drake May now is the guy that he was okay last year. This year he's had a phenomenal year. If I'm not mistaken, I think right now he's the MVP leader now, the odds leader currently into week 11. Okay, so if you have to redraft those three guys this year, how would you do it? Like me personally, that's tough. Like Drake May is doing a lot of good things in New England. That's. I mean, you want to say May right now, but I feel like if I say Drake May, I'm being a little bit prisoner of the moment to saying that because Jane Daniels has had the larger ceiling. He's reached a larger ceiling so far. Okay. Caleb Williams is starting to gain, and Caleb Williams, to be honest, I think, to be honest, of the three guys, still, Caleb Williams has the larger ceiling because his ability now, like his ability to move in the pocket and move around, like he's very Mahomes-like. And last year it was chaotic in ways where he was a mess. Now he's doing the same thing though, but there's actually more of a purpose now when he scrambles. So I don't know. I really don't know because again, Jane Nails had a higher ceiling. We saw hit the higher ceiling so far, but you're only a year and a half in. So I don't know. I honestly cannot answer that question. How I redraft that? I don't know. I mean, okay. So this for argument's sake right now for this segment, I'll probably still go Jane Daniels for the time being, but I'm very worried about the injuries now going forward. Okay, I go Jane Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, but this is very fluid. This can change in 2 weeks. Okay, in 2 weeks. One last thing too. Also, Matthew Stafford. Throw his ass in the MVP discussion now. He is phenomenal this year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at it right now. Matthew Stafford this year, he might. I saw something a stat where he has 20 touchdowns and no picks this year. I don't know if that's true or not. Let me see. Matthew Stafford this year. No, he has 2 picks this year. Yeah, right now this year he has 25 touchdowns and two interceptions. Okay, and again, this is the MVP race this year is very fluid. Okay, it's very fluid. Okay, I would still put Jonathan Taylor as a favorite, but we've seen every week a new guy coming into the conversation now. Now it's Stafford. For 1 week was Daniel Jones. Now he's gone. Another week it was Drake May. Right now Drake May is the betting favorite right now. But I think right now Jonathan Taylor should be the favorite right now, in my opinion. But if you're doing a top 3, 4 discussion here, Matthew Stafford right now might have to be in the discussion now. He is balling, and the Rams are dangerous as hell. In fact, they're one of the only 3 teams I trust right now in the NFL to win a Super Bowl. So those are my observations for week number 10 in the NFL. All right, big news in the NBA today. Nico Harrison, general manager Nico Harrison, fired by the Dallas Mavericks. The decision comes after a poor start to 2025-26 NBA season, as the Mavericks are currently 3-8 as of today, and a significant amount of backlash from the fans and scrutiny following the controversial trade of superstar Luka Doncic to the Lakers 9 months ago. The firings reported to have occurred today. Of course, it did have occurred today. Assistant general managers Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi are expected to serve as co-interim GMs while the Mavericks conduct a search for a permanent replacement. Harrison's tenure, which began in 2021, reached the NBA Finals in 2024, but was ultimately defined by a wildly criticized trade of Doncic in February 2025. I got some opinions on that one. Give me a second. I got some water here real quick. Okay. The problem with Nico Harrison, and I'll rehash this one more time. It wasn't that he traded Luka Doncic. It was a bad trade. We all agree with that. It was a bad trade. The issue was the return. That was egregious. Getting back only Anthony Davis and a first-round pick for a top 3, some say top 2, some of you say best player in basketball, is asinine. It's asinine. Now, a big part of me believes that Nico Harrison is a fall guy for this. Because I have a suspicion that ownership did not want to pay Luka because of concerns about his weight and whatnot. But of course, they put it on Nico to make the decision. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what happened here. But it was still a decision made by Nico Harrison. The move looks like collusion, looks like a conspiracy that to make the Lakers better. And some of the optics, and I'm always one that likes to fight against conspiracy theories, but you can't help but wonder. You really can't. So, I do think, though, when you combine the trade, the reaction, and even though you got Cooper Flagg in the draft, number 1 in the pick, who's been pretty mid at best so far, combine it with also the Lakers scorching right now. Luka's lost weight. Lakers playing great basketball, without LeBron James, in fact. And the Mavericks are shit. The 3-8. AD's out again with injury. Surprise, surprise. I think the ownership says, "Fuck it, we got to get rid of this. Get rid of this." Even though they should share just as much blame, if not more blame, than Nico Harrison for this decision. Okay. Again, when I was critical of the trade, I was more critical of the return they got for Luka, not so much the trade itself. The trade was bad enough. Okay. I don't care what shape he was in. I understood why they did it based on we're not sure we're going to take care of his body and he'd be injury prone and you want to pay that guy $300 million. I get all that. But to get back less than what Mikal Bridges got, the Nets got from Mikal Bridges to the Knicks is ludicrous. That is offensive in any ways, and you should never have a job again in the NBA. Okay, that was the issue, was the return. Okay, you got back at AD now, who can barely stay healthy now. He's already getting hurt right now, as is, and your team sucks. And your team sucks right now. And Cooper Flagg now out the gate, not good, Bob. Not great, Bob. So it is what it is. I don't know if we will see Nico Harrison ever in the NBA again. This is something to look. If the Lakers win a championship with Luka, good luck seeing Nico in an executive office again in the NBA, because you can't live that down. You cannot live that down. And plus, Luka didn't want to get traded. Luka is still beloved in Dallas. You can't live that down, buddy. But I do think the ownership, group should take more blame for that. Okay. Anyway, one last thing to get out of here. So I'm fascinated with something here. I like to talk about once in a while. I'll talk about finances on the podcast and budgeting and whatnot. So Donald Trump is proposing the creation of a 50-year mortgage loan as a measure to address the ongoing housing affordability crisis. Now, the primary goal of this recommendation is to lower monthly mortgage payments for home buyers by stretching the loan term out to a longer period. This could allow more people, especially first-time and younger buyers, to qualify for a loan or purchase a more expensive home than they otherwise could have with a traditional 30-year term. The proposal has generated significant debate due to several trade-offs. Lower monthly payoffs, of course, being the main benefit. Significantly higher total interest paid over 50 years. The total amount of interest paid on the loan would be substantially higher, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars more compared to a 30-year mortgage. A large portion of early payments will go towards interest, meaning homeowners will build equity in their home much more slowly. Experts suggest that the 50-year mortgage will likely carry a higher interest rate than 30-year loans because lenders will demand a higher premium for tying up capital for a longer period and to account for increased risks. Now, the Federal Housing Finance Director, Bill Pulte, has confirmed that the administration is working on developing this longer-term product as part of a wider set of solutions for housing affordability. I feel two ways about this personally. Like, on one hand, yes, that is one way to combat the high prices of homes. I'll be honest with you, this is going to sound fucked up here, but I'm going to say it anyway. People get pissed at me. I don't give a fuck. I wouldn't mind another crash. Because these homes, since COVID, especially too in Florida, are way, 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 way overpriced. Okay? You got homes that were selling for $200,000 in 2018 are now selling for $600,000-$700,000. And they're not even worth that kind of money. And yes, wages have gone up a little bit now in recent years. Like, we have minimum wage increases now since 2018, which is a good thing. But these homes were expensive. And yes, I agree. A 50-year loan would definitely shrink your monthly payment. But at the same time, though, I can't imagine. And look, I'm looking for someone who's buying a home to make it a forever home. I'm not going to as something you look at as an investment to sell later on and this kind of stuff. I don't know how you can justify paying a mortgage for 50 years. So to look at it this way, say you're a young person, you just get married, you're 25 years old, you get married, right? You're forever home. 25 years old. Unless you intend on paying off the loan faster, but there's ways to do that, but you have to double payment at some point, you're not paying off that home until you're a grandparent and beyond and past the retirement age. So the idea in my head is like, yes, I get it. I know there's different things also. You can sell the home by then and all this stuff. And I just don't like the idea of locking yourself into a situation where you're paying more interest now. Because this honestly benefits more of the banks and the loan lenders and whatnot. I just can't, I can't come to terms with the idea of 50 years on a mortgage. Again, most people don't stay in their homes more than 10 years. There's a lot of movement, jobs move, this and that. I get all that. But I mean, this is the only thing you can do. Now, my brother and I were talking about this last night on the phone, and he's into real estate. He said that, yeah, but it is not ideal, but this is also was probably a situation and probably the same conversation happened when it went to 30 years. I think before 30 years it was 15, I believe. And I get all that. But 30 years you could justify it too, though, because 30 years is still just less than 2 generations. What's about 50 years, dude? 50 years. You know what I'm saying? To me, in my head, I can't even like quantify that. And then on top of that, the White House yesterday too said that they want to look into like extending auto loans now from 6 years max to 15 years max for the same thing. I was joking with my wife the other day. I was like, the only way I would be okay with that, honestly, is if I'm getting a Toyota. If I'm getting anything that's made in Japan, a Toyota, Honda, because I've had my car now I've had my car for 11 years, but it's a 15-year-old car, and it runs great still, because I trust Toyotas. But the idea of paying a car loan for 15 fucking years, it's insanity. Like, you can talk me into a 7 to 8 year loan, yeah, but 15 years auto loan? Oh God, no. Oh no. Because by the time you pay it off, you can want another car anyway. Like a house, I can almost justify that. Even though I'm not a fan of the 50-year loan on a house, I can justify that. A 15-year loan on a car, though, that depreciates massively the minute it leaves the lot, does not make any sense. But yet, here's the thing, and I'll give the president credit for this, though. What else can you do? Like, you can lower prices, but you got to force companies to do that. And I don't think they're going to want to do that. I don't think any president wants to do that. Like, I don't know how you curb prices. The only way you can curb prices is to raise wages. This is why I kept saying for years, like, I know folks who are, minimum wage is too, it shouldn't be $15 an hour. Okay. And for years, I had that thought, well, yeah, it's true. Minimum wage shouldn't be $15 an hour, this and that. Until I realized, okay, so what are we doing to combat the rising cost? Because it's got to be a tip for tat here too. Also, you got to be able to balance the scales here too. Also, okay, because again, when you have things that cost X amount of money and things you need from them, I'm not saying talking about like vacations and things that's not a priority. I'm talking about a car's a priority. You need a car. If you live in a state like Florida where transportation here is not that great, you need a car. You can't survive in New York. You can get away with not having a car because in the city you get a bus, cabs, and you're fine. But you need a car in Florida. Like, so when you can't afford that, okay, what are you gonna do? So again, you have to answer the question about how you combat rising cost, and that's the challenge here. But I'm not a fan of the 15-year loan in with cars. I'm really not, because I think that's a disaster waiting to happen. Like the home part, 50 years of home mortgage loan, I can somewhat justify that, but I'm not a fan of it either myself. My thing is, personally, it doesn't sound really fucked up. I'm just not conservative here. If you can't afford it, you shouldn't have it. Bottom line, if you can't afford it, don't get into it. You know what I mean? We all make decisions as human beings and as people to get into loans. This is why I also have a hard time. This is why I also have a hard time. Being on a bandwagon for student loan forgiveness. Like, again, I'm still open to this conversation. People convince me why it should be a thing. But if you make a decision to yourself to get into a loan, and now you want it forgiven, you do realize that when that happens, it's going to get paid. Someone's got to pay that loan, and it's enrolled into taxpayers paying that loan. Because I don't trust the government to do the right thing. It's not going to just go away. They're going to roll that into higher taxes, and people like me who didn't go to college got to pay that shit. I don't want to pay other people's loans. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's not me being selfish. It's just reality. Like, I'm willing to put the money into healthcare. Find ways to put in healthcare, but into student loans for college, fuck that. And then when that college over it anyway, bro. So that's just my 2 cents there. So anyway, that's it for me. Oh, I did forget one more thing. Did you guys see the new trailer for the new Michael Jackson movie? You haven't? Check it out here.
I know you've been waiting a long time for this. The tracks are made. The songs are ready. Let's take it from the top. This is your story. Honor your past. So you wanna be starting something. And embrace the future. That's what people want.
Q, can you lower the lights for me, please?
Okay, but remember, in here, keep those feet still, my man.
All right, April 24th. As you guys know, you guys know I'm a massive fan of Michael, so this is a big deal for me. But hold on, why is this not working here? Why can't? Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. Can't see my face for a second. Long time coming. This trailer, movie's coming out next year. The rumor is that it could be a possibly 2-parter. So, my understanding, I have heard this for a while now, is that the first part, if it goes 2 parts, this movie ends with on the Bad Tour from 1988-89. Okay, now there's still 20 years of his life to cover. And part 2 would potentially do that if they greenlight the part 2. The issue is a part 2 would have to go into the other things, the controversies, the allegations, and all that stuff. And part of the reason why this movie took so long to get done is because they had to reshoot the movie, because the idea was to do a 3-hour movie and cover all of that in one fell swoop. But they ran into some legal issues regarding non-disclosure agreements and stuff with the accusers and all this stuff, and what they can and can't say. So they decided to, okay, let's just reshoot parts of the movie and leave that part out for now. Now, if the movie is received very well, which at this point I don't see why it wouldn't be, given the fact that the trailer already has broken records as the most viewed biopic trailer in history of movies. The interest already is through the roof. I'm seeing Michael mania again all over social media. Okay, it's gonna be huge worldwide. Okay, so I don't see why that would be an issue. Of course, Michael's being played by his nephew Jafar, who is also Jermaine Jackson's son, too. So, like I said, the movie is gonna be. Look, here's the bottom line, and I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. As someone's a massive fan, this movie isn't for me. This movie isn't for the casuals. This is for the casuals, okay? Because I know for a fact when I see this movie, in the same way it was when I saw Bohemian Rhapsody back in 2018, I'm going to nitpick the fuck out of this movie because I'm that big a fan, okay? But I'm going to try to enjoy it for what it is. Yes, it will be sugar-coated, okay? It will be sugar-coated, okay? Because, again, this is for the casuals. But my biggest goal for this movie is I'm hoping this movie will humanize Michael in ways that people who don't understand him, why he was what he was, why his behavior was what he was, why he said the things he said, and all this stuff. Because he was very controversial. But if you have an understanding of why he was what he was, his upbringing, whatnot, it will humanize him more. That is my goal for this movie, ultimately. And we'll see. The trailer looks really good. I'm very, very impressed with it so far. I will probably see it a few times in theaters, most likely. I know I'm going to see it. I'm not going to see it opening night. I'm going to try to anyway. My wife wants to go with me. I already told her I want to go alone, but she's like, not let me go by myself. So whatever. I'll probably a mess watching the movie because I expect to be a tearjerker. I have friends of mine who are not even fans of Michael who tell me this is going to be a tearjerker. So if you're saying that means a fan who's actually more invested, of course, be more, react in a certain way. So should be an exciting time. That's a trailer, but it's not really a trailer. It's a teaser. The rumor is that there's going to be a full blown trailer coming out in a few weeks. During the release of Wicked 2. Which I may go see with my wife just to see the trailer. But I want to make it 2 also as well. So we'll see how that goes. But should be an exciting time. Should be a good movie. I cannot wait for it to see it next year. It's going to break a lot of records. My question is going to be, do we get a part 2? And if so, do they finally take the chances and step into the situation of addressing the allegations and the scandals and all that stuff? We'll see. But anyway, that's it for me on the podcast. Dated 11/11/2025. I'm on X at EJ Christian 7. Earnestly Podcast goes all podcast catchers, especially on YouTube at Earnestly Pod on YouTube, TikTok at TikTok Earnestly Pod as well too. Until the next episode, we will talk to you soon. It's actually one of the longer episodes we've done in a while. Solo episode anyway. So we'll talk soon. Love you guys.